Ronaldo and Homelander have been compared a lot recently, but who truly comes out on top? Today they'll go head to head in 5 different categories. The one with the most rounds won by the end will be crowned the winner. Let's begin. Cristiano was born on the Portuguese island of Madeira. His early life was extremely difficult, with his family struggling to pay the bills. His father was a kit man while his mother worked as both a cook and cleaner. Despite the hardships, Ronaldo developed a passion for football, joining his local club Nacional. His talent quickly became apparent as he stood out in his age group for his dribbling and extreme competitiveness. At just 12 years old, he earned a trial with Portuguese giant Sporting Lisbon, but this opportunity came at a great cost. The young boy would have to leave home, living hundreds of kilometers away from his family. Cristiano struggled with homesickness. His peers mocked him for his Madeiran accent, and his coaches doubted him because of his skinny frame. Yet despite these challenges, the young Ronaldo remained determined to achieve his dream. John Gilman, better known as Homelander, could have had a more different childhood. He didn't even have a family. Instead, he was manufactured in a laboratory created as an experiment by the pharmaceutical company Vought through the use of Compound V, a chemical serum that alters a person's genetics to grant them superpowers. As part of the Odessa project, he was designed to become the perfect superhero, kept in sterile rooms and treated like a product rather than a person. John was subjugated to excruciating tests, as his creators pushed him to his limits to uncover the full extent of his powers. One of the few survivors of these cruel experiments, his upbringing was anything but normal. He had no real relationships, only scientists determined to perfect their creation. While Ronaldo overcame immense challenges at a young age, the abuse and psychological trauma John endured were simply too extreme to ignore. It's fair to say that Homelander takes the first point. In 2002, after years of hard work and dedication, Cristiano earned a promotion to Sporting's first team. He impressed in his debut season, but he would soon play a match that changed everything. In the summer of 2003, Sporting faced Manchester United in a preseason game, and Cristiano stunned one of Europe's biggest clubs with his dazzling skills, electric pace, and unstoppable dribbling. His performance was so impressive that United's players urged their coach Sir Alex Ferguson to sign him, and just days later, he did. At Man United, Cristiano transformed into a global superstar. He developed into a complete player, winning every trophy available, becoming an English and European champion, as well as collecting football's biggest individual honors. Most importantly, the 2008 Ballon d'Or, cementing his place as the best player in the world. After surviving Vaught's brutal experiments, John was finally deemed ready. Introduced to the world as the Homelander, he instantly became an icon, a force with unrivaled power. Possessing super strength, speed, durability, flight, and heat vision, he was practically unstoppable. After the company chose to appoint him as leader of the superhero team The Seven, the Homelander's popularity soared, with the company being sure to carefully craft his public image. Presented as the ideal American hero, a symbol of hope and justice, he seemed to be Vaught's perfect creation. Homelander's rise was rapid and unlike anything the world had ever seen, but ultimately it was manufactured. Cristiano's journey could not have been more different. Without favoritism or outside help, he earned every opportunity through relentless effort and determination. This point is clear. Ronaldo strikes back. In 2009, after winning it all with United, football's biggest institution came knocking for Cristiano Ronaldo, an offer he accepted. When he joined Real Madrid, the Portuguese star became even more focused on his physical condition, training his body to become the perfect athlete. And so began what was perhaps the greatest signing in football history. Every available record seemed destined for CR7 to break. He dominated opponents with his strength, speed, jumping, agility, and football IQ. All major awards seemed to have his and a certain Argentine's name written on it. He became a Spanish champion and lifted the Champions League once again for the club's historic 10th UCL. And then he'd spearhead them to do it again, but this time, back to back to back. Yet his crowning achievement may not have even come with Real Madrid, but with his beloved Portugal, as Ronaldo helped lead his nation to its first ever major trophy. This moment was especially emotional after the shock of losing that same final in Portugal early in his career, a game his now deceased father had watched. Being handed the role as leader of America's greatest superhero team, Homelander, who had dropped the from his name to seem more relatable, quickly realized just how untouchable he was. Not only was he unstoppable because of his sheer power, but he was also the face of a multi-billion-dollar company, and so he ruled with an iron fist. Governments feared him, Vought couldn't control him, it seemed like no one could stand in his way. Both men were essentially invincible in their prime, the faces of their respective worlds, and unmatched in their abilities. They were respected, feared, and admired by millions, having reached similar levels of dominance. It's fair to say that this round ends in a draw. But with all the success came failures. After his legendary spell at Real Madrid, Italian giants Juventus signed Ronaldo in hopes that he could finally deliver them a UCL. Despite his individual success in Italy, that moment never came. And of course, despite all the trophies he has lifted, one has always eluded CR7, the World Cup. Even after 5 attempts and now heading into his 6th, he has never lifted football's ultimate prize and has never even scored in the knockout stages. As Ronaldo aged, his numbers began to decline. He was still producing extraordinary performances for his age, but it was clear that he was far from his peak. Then came his fabled return to Manchester United. What began as a dream quickly turned into a nightmare. As his performances declined and his relationships with coaches and teammates deteriorated, Ronaldo fell out with the club where he had once become a star. His second spell in England ended in controversy, ultimately leaving Europe for the lucrative Saudi football project. Homelander's weaknesses, however, never came from his physicality. On the outside, he remained all-powerful, but on the inside, he was fragile. Scarred by the abuse he endured as a child, he never learned how to form genuine relationships. Instead, he craved approval, attention, and admiration. He became obsessed with maintaining his pristine image, and whenever it began to falter, so did he. Despite all the power, fame, and influence, Homelander simply wanted to feel loved. And that's what made him controllable and ultimately led to his downfall. Ronaldo's failures have certainly affected the perception of his otherwise illustrious career, but Homelander's vulnerabilities ultimately led to his downfall, and so CR7 puts himself ahead. Ronaldo's legacy cannot be questioned. From Madeira to Manchester to Madrid, his rise is one of the most remarkable ever. From the humblest of beginnings to world domination, his reign was truly generational. 5 Ballon d'Ors, a myriad of trophies in different countries, countless records, and leading Portugal to multiple titles, his mark on football is iconic, and his impact on the sport will always be felt. On the outside, Homelander was the greatest superhero who ever lived, the flawless creation unrivaled in strength. He became more than a hero, he was the symbol of hope and American power, an unstoppable force manufactured to perfection. But despite all the initial glamour, his legacy was ultimately one of terror and ruthlessness. As when his mask inevitably slipped, it cost him what he cared about most, his public image. Homelander put up a respectable fight, but Ronaldo finishes this off by scoring the decisive point. But wait, if you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to bite that subscribe button. And here's the first episode in this series that you can watch right now. Goodbye.